New Year. Welcome to my Knitter's Life series. My name is Shannon and this is season 5, episode 1. I'm so happy to see you, or to know that you're out there watching me. So silly. You'd think by now, season 5, my 5th year of doing Knitter's Life, I would have this down, but no, because it's not scripted, so everything's kind of ad hoc and however I'm feeling and whatever is happening. Anyway, welcome back if you're a returning viewer, and welcome for the first time if you're a new viewer. I hope you find my channel to your liking. In the sea of all the options, there are so many knitting channels, and I say that, but and I have my favorites, but I still when I see some channels, I'm just like, not for me. And that's cool. If you decide I'm not for you, I get it. There's lots of places vying for your attention. But welcome. My channel is about knitting and spinning primarily. I occasionally do other things, like last year I crocheted a sweater. And so sometimes I do actually have a crochet bag I'd love to make this year, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I like to start episode 1 with a recap of the year before, of my knitting projects and spinning projects. And I'm not going to do the everything I knit or everything I spun. Instead, I do it in a little different way. I do a summary in terms of yardage of how much I knit. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the projects, but if you've been here, you've seen the projects. You saw them all year in 2024, and if you're interested in seeing them, if there's a particular project I mentioned that you want to see, I am on Ravelry, and I am a pretty copious note taker on Ravelry, so I will, most of the things I talk about here, whether it's like modifications I did or things that specific yarns, if I mention a project or show you a project like the one I'm wearing, because this is an old project, if you need more details, you can go check out my Ravelry page. And if you're not on Ravelry, just drop a comment or send me a direct message on Instagram or in my Gmail, and ask me your questions. I'm happy to try to help you figure out or understand what it is I did, if I can remember what I did. But mostly it's in the notes. So that is a little bit about me. Oh, I should probably reintroduce myself, because I haven't done that in probably a year. I usually start these episodes just jumping right into all the things. And I usually start with what I'm wearing, which I'll tell you in a sec. But because it's episode 1 of season 5, I thought I would tell you a little bit about me. So I am a single mom, 3 grown adult kids. My youngest is 30. I have faux twins that are 30. One I did not give birth to. They're only 6 weeks apart. I fostered a son. He's lovely. Participating in someone else's life is an amazing gift, and he's my baby. So there's that. They're all grown up. I live in northern New Jersey, right across the river, the Hudson River, from New York City. There might have been some views of New York here at the beginning. I don't know what footage I have. I've been taking footage for the last few weeks, and because I haven't really done, last 2 weeks, because I haven't really done any episodes. I was supposed to do a final Vlogmas and I didn't, but I think I have footage of the river. Anyway, I digress, and this is a me problem, not a you. Not of interest to you, probably. Anyway, so I have these 3 boys. One lives in Texas, and I have a little granddaughter with him, and with he and his wife, my daughter-in-law. They live in El Paso, so I take trips there. They take trips here. We try to see each other as much as we can. And I am a university professor and administrator at a university that shall not be named because they monitor social media and no one needs to see that I do this from where I work. It's irrelevant. But if you're curious about the classes I teach, I used to work in the garment industry. I was a fashion designer for about a decade before I quit to go to grad school to get a master's degree in counseling. And so I teach counseling-based classes, but I also have a keen interest in feminism. So I teach a class on feminism, feminist theory. I actually have one running right now, my winter session class, and on feminism. But mostly I teach classes on relationships and stuff like that. So anyway, all relationships, family relationships, romantic relationships, friendships, all of that. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I am an avid knitter. I learned how to knit when I was a freshman in college a million years ago. And I was 17 years old, and I was precocious, so I went to school early. And yeah, I learned how to hand knit. And I loved it, and I picked the needles up, put them down over, the next couple decades, and then really got into knitting about became a capital K knitter, as people say, about 10 years ago. And so my Ravelry stuff starts, I want to say around 2016. I knew about Ravelry, but I was busy with grad school and raising kids, so I didn't really establish a Ravelry profile or anything when they first came out. I wish I did, because it's an amazing resource. So I didn't join Ravelry, I think, until 2016. So that's probably when my project logging started. I'd been to Vogue Knitting Live many times, and to Rhinebeck before it was known as the knitter's mecca. I remember going to Rhinebeck in the 80s, and I grew up in LA too. I grew up in Los Angeles and moved to the East Coast for college. And I went to an upstate New York school. My parents moved to upstate New York when I was 16, and I stayed to finish high school in LA. So my mom took me to New York Sheep and Wool very early in our stay here. It was very exciting. I remember I really wanted to learn how to spin, and my mother talked me out of it because she said it would be a steep learning curve, and I had just learned how to knit at that point. But in hindsight, she was wrong. It's actually pretty easy. I think spinning is easier than knitting, but anyway, I just think that if you're not willing to, if you want a spinning wheel, the entry fee, the economic cost of getting a spinning wheel is around $1,000, unless you can find a good used one, which is what I did finally in 2019. I finally learned how to spin, and I love it. It's very meditative. So that's a little bit about me. Let me tell you what I'm wearing. I am wearing the HANA sweater by Junko Okamoto. It is knit out of Harrison tweed design Daylights in the colorway, I don't remember the name, but I'll put it in the description box or at least I'll link my Ravelry project page. But it's the one that has red in it, a little bit of red flecks. Daylights has been out for a while, I think. So it's funny, I rotate my sweaters throughout the cold months. I'll put a few out on the shelves, and I keep everything sealed because I've had a moth problem in the past. About 4 years ago, I had 5 years ago, before the pandemic, horrible moth problem in my hand knit sweaters in my closet, and I have since moved and I don't have them at all anymore. But because of that experience, I keep all my sweaters in sealed plastic bins. And anyway, I go through the bins every so often and take out sweaters that I haven't worn recently and rotate them out. So I keep about 6 sweaters out and then wear them for a few weeks or a month and then rotate in new ones. So I just pulled this one out a few days ago. But I was going to say, little trivia about this sweater. It is my most viewed project, and actually I have my computer right here, so let me just see if I can tell you how many views I've had on it. Because Ravelry does all this really cool data. They made for most viewed. It's been viewed 1,457 times, and I think it's because I knit it pretty quickly after the pattern came out. Oh, the colorway's Bloodshot, which makes sense, red. I knit it in 2020, in the fall of 2020. I think I was making it for Rhinebeck, and then Rhinebeck got canceled. But yeah, it was such a fun knit. It's a great way to do a cabled sweater if you are thinking about doing a cabled sweater, because you do it in pieces. It's a modular knit, so you, like, I forget which piece you start on, but you do one square and then you attach the next square, and so you're just doing small parts for this really beautiful cable knit sweater. And it's reversible. Like, you could wear whatever, front, you could just determine what's front and back. I actually don't really pay close attention when I put it on. I just pull it over my head and that's it, ready to go. But I found that really funny that this is my most viewed sweater. I don't know why. I think my second most viewed is not even close. Let me see. My second most view is the half wrap by Pearl Soho. Actually, that's become a cat blanket because it got moth-eaten in the moth debacle. That's viewed 1,000 times. So it's, not even close. Anyway, that's a rather long intro. Hope you found that interesting. So before I get into what I'm working on, this is a holdover from 2024, still working on it, still plowing away. I'll talk about that in a sec. I thought I would do a little recap of the projects that I knit and the yardage, because I like to track what it is, I like to track my yarn stash. And if you're new or you're new-ish, you may not know, but in 2023, in that spring, May of 2023, I moved from a place I had lived for about 10 years, a 900 square foot apartment in my sister's house, which isn't too far. She lives about an hour from me, from where I live now. So I moved from that apartment to a smaller apartment, one that's about 640 square feet, and I needed to really downsize a lot of stuff. But I had lived in that big apartment with my kids, so they left. They all moved out. Two of my sons, my faux twins, the 30-year-olds, live across the river in New York City. And like I said, my oldest lives in Texas. So I wanted to live closer to where my sons live, and it's been great. I see them so much more because it's super convenient, especially one of my sons. He's about to move again, but he lives just 20 minutes from me, and it's so convenient. He could take a bus directly from his neighborhood to mine, and yeah, it's really great. It's been great. He's moving to temporarily in with his girlfriend, and then the two of them, they're going to save up money and then look for a place. They don't, either in my neighborhood or in the neighborhood where my other son lives, which is Pelham Bay, the Bronx, which it's a super cute neighborhood. I have shared it before. I think I shared it in Vlogmas 2023, actually, because I had to run over there to drop stuff off. They live in a neighborhood that's Italian and probably Puerto Rican. It's has got a Hispanic vibe. It may be kind of a mix. Like, the thing about New York City and the Hispanic or Latine population is that it's very mixed. I live in a Latine neighborhood as well. Super comfortable for me though, and it's very mixed. Like, you name a country, I've got the restaurant walkable pretty much, or a quick 5-minute drive from my house. Like, name the country in Latin America or Central America or Caribbean. There's a Dominican place. There's a Cuban place. There's Brazilian, Portuguese, everything you could think of. Spanish from Spain, Ecuadorian, El Salvadorian, everything is around here. Peruvian, which is really cool. I love it. I don't speak Spanish. I wish I did. I can understand some words, but I don't really. I wish I knew more. Maybe when I retire, that could be something I study. Alrighty. Let's get into, I don't know how I got on that tangent, but let's get into the yardage that I use. So, yes, that's right, because I was talking about downsizing. So I had to downsize, and once I moved in, I got everything in, everything fit, but I ended up storing a lot of fiber and yarn under my bed. So I've been working on getting that stuff out from under my bed, like in plastic bins under my bed. So they're perfectly safe. But I wanted to just reduce what I had. So I've been on a reduction path since about a year into the pandemic. So probably like early 2021, I've been really wanting to reduce my stash and focused on that and trying not to buy too much. But of course, I've never done a no buy because I like to keep myself happy and feel good. And sometimes buying new yarn makes me feel good. So I don't make myself not buy anything, but I do try to practice austerity when it comes to yarn and fiber. That being said, I did purchase some yarn this year, but let me first talk to you about my yarn usage. So I had kind of a low usage year in terms of the last couple years. So for 2024, I knit 24,477 yards. And of course, yardage can change depending on the weight, but you should know that I primarily knit either DK or fingering weight, usually fingering weight. This is fingering weight because I prefer to wear fingering weight. And wearing sweaters, this is DK weight, wearing sweaters heavier than DK is just too heavy for me. I don't live in a climate where that's necessary, or that level of warmth, like worsted weight or Aran weight, it works. I do have one or two sweaters that are heavier. I really don't wear them much. But the fingering weight sweaters, I can pretty much wear fingering weight sweaters almost year round because of air conditioning. So here, I'm in the US, so here in the US, and in this region where it gets so humid in the summer, we have AC on all the time. I have AC where I work, I have AC at home, and AC's in every restaurant and shops and stuff. So if you're out and about, you might want to wear a tank top or short sleeve top, lightweight outside, but when you go inside, it's cold. So you put on a cardigan or put on a short sleeve knit shell. So anyway, look, I prefer to knit the worsted and DK. I would really like to knit more of those, but I have a limited amount of time where I could wear a heavier weight sweater than fingering weight. It's pretty much end of November until end of March, and then it's too warm for those heavy sweaters. And sometimes even we had 60-degree weather last month in December for a few days, so that was a little too I was pulling out my fingering weight sweaters to wear at that point. So yeah, so the yardage, how does that translate to skeins? It depends on the weight. If we average that out to say, because I would say I probably knit half fingering weight and half DK last year. I didn't really knit too much though. I knit 10 sweaters. So in the past, just so you know, last year in 2023, I used 52,000 yards. So it was a lot more yardage, which averaged about 132 skeins at 400 yards. So this year it was half that. So it was about 60 skeins of 400 yards. But I know some of the projects I made this in 2024 were DK weight. So it really wasn't quite that many skeins. It might have been 40, maybe 35 skeins. I am a spinner, so yarn gets added to my stash as I spin. And this past year, I spun 10,000 yards, a little over, like 10,392 yards. 3 of those batches of yarn are in the yardage of yarn that I knit with. So I don't differentiate in the yardage that I knit with from what I purchased and what I had in stash. Or maybe I should do that though. That would be an interesting data point to see out of that number how many yards was yarn I purchased new that year to use, and how much was out of stash and how much was. I'll do that sometime, maybe next year. To give you a comparison, in 2023 I only spun about 5,000 yards, but what I did in 2024, after Tour de Fleece, which happens about midway through the year, about end of June, I established a daily practice of spinning every morning. So I, get up, do my morning stuff, feed the cats, get my coffee, and go sit down at my spinning wheel and spin for at least 5 to 10 minutes or longer, like however long I can. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But I have a hormonal condition that keeps me, most mornings I am very tired in the morning. Like I have a lot of brain fog, so I need time to wake up. And I found that doing something that's very meditative and slow helps me wake up. So I will spin until, I just let my mind wander onto things that are coming up that day or whatever I want to think about. And then I get to the point where I'm like, okay, everything's good now. It takes me about 30 minutes, I would say, to completely wake up. Having said that, though, there are occasions where I wake up with all cylinders firing and I feel great and there's no brain fog. And it seems to have nothing to do with anything that I do the night before, whether I have a glass of wine or not, or whether I, have a piece of candy or not. It just seems to be, or whether I sleep well or not. I do find that if I don't sleep well, it is worse. But I can have a great night's sleep and still have brain fog, or I can have a great night's sleep and still wake up like feeling great. So the days that I wake up feeling great are really few and far between. Maybe once a month where I'm really like, cool, I can get going. So I wake up extra early to give myself that time to wake up. I take some medication, and I think it really just needs time to kick in. It needs about 20 to 30 minutes to kick in. And once it kicks in, I'm good. And coffee helps too. Absolutely. I'm actually still drinking my morning coffee because it's not that late here. It is Saturday, January 4th. I got this at a thrift shop, and it's from a potter. I think I talked about it when I got it. I got a pair of them. It's from a potter in Vermont. It was a great price, though, for hand-built mugs. I love ceramics. I love handmade ceramics, especially from potters I have a few potters that I love and follow. That was a tangent. I'm going to get back on track. Okay, so I did purchase some yarn. Most of it I did use. I purchased 6,500 yards, actually almost 6,594 yards. When I purchased last year, so my birthday's in February, I purchased a quantity of yarn for my birthday with the intention of making a sweater, a birthday cast on, and that happened. That was the gem sweater. I want to say it's by Irene Lynn, but I might be wrong. But anyway, I will put the mentions down below if I can remember. So it was the gem sweater, and I purchased some very high-end, expensive yarn for that. This year I'm not going to do that. I can say for certain because February is right around the corner, and I think I know what my birthday cast on is going to be, and I think it's going to be with yarn that I actually hand spun last year for Tour de Fleece. The big news here, though, is that I destashed a bunch of yarn. I went through, so years ago, probably in like 2017 to 2018, 2019, in there, I joined a bunch of yarn clubs. Like indie dyers were really peaking at that point. Maybe they're still peaking. I don't know. there seemed to be a lot of business closures after, during and after the pandemic sort of disappeared in 2020 and 2021. A lot of folks just couldn't make it work without the in-person stuff. So, and that's sad, but understandable. We need to practice life that is sustainable to us. So anyway, I had joined when I, first realized that indie dyers, like probably 2016, 2015, 2016, when I realized like indie dyers were a thing and they had a big presence on Instagram. I purchased a lot of single skeins, like one skein of fingering weight, just with this idea. Actually, I kind of blame Stephen West because I discovered him at that time too. And the shawls that he was designing at that time were a lot of like mixture of single skeins of fingering weight. So 3 or 4 skeins of fingering weight yarn that you were combining. So I really wanted to build this like collection that I could easily pull from to make shawls. And then I reached a point where I was like, I have enough shawls. I do. I have plenty of shawls. Plenty. And I still had a lot of these single skeins. I joined some mystery clubs and stuff because usually you can get a little bit of a discount on the skeins if you do that. And so I was getting a lot of random single skeins that were pretty, but I wasn't knitting with them because they didn't fit the project that I was casting on that month or whatever, or that year. So I did a big de-stash right after Tour de Fleece. Or maybe right before, in the summer, like June, I did a big de-stash. And I de-stashed about 55 skeins of yarn, maybe 60. I didn't keep track exactly, but it was around 20,000 yards. And they were mostly fingering weight, mostly single skeins. I was delighted to pack them up and ship them off to new homes. It was really awesome. It created a lot of room in my storage here in my newish apartment. And I was able to get rid of plastic bins that were under my bed holding yarn. So all my yarn is now in a cupboard, contained. I still have too much though. I think I have more than I have lots of sweater quantities that just I haven't figured out what to do with them yet. I have no business buying any yarn until I knit up more. I felt the same way about fiber, and I was on a mission this year, which is why I spun so much, to spin through my fiber, because I did the same thing with fiber that I did with yarn. When I learned how to spin, I ended up joining a bunch of mystery clubs and just getting mystery batches of fleece shipped to me, and then some of it I just wasn't interested in spinning. And they just went into my stash and sat there. So I've been spinning through a lot of that. And, it wasn't stuff I wanted to spin, but I needed to spin just to get it out of my stash. I have tried de-stashing fiber. It's very difficult to de-stash fiber. Spinners are a little different from knitters. And they know what they like, most of them. Maybe a new spinner might be open to buying some, but it's hard to sell fiber, even though it's gorgeous and it's, well cared for and, been stored properly and all of that stuff. It's just really hard to sell it. So I just ended up spinning it all into combo spins, which is where you're putting together 2 or more fiber bumps that are from different sources, maybe the same source, or they're different colors, but they weren't necessarily meant to be put together, but you can put them together. Of course, you're a spinner, you're the master of your own spins, you could do whatever you like. So I ended up doing a bunch of those just to spin through the random single bunches of fiber that I had, and that really worked. I really reduced a lot. I had just this month, I was able to get rid of another plastic bin of fiber that's been under my bed. I now have 2 plastic bins of fiber under my bed, and they will stay there probably. If I can get it down to 1, great. But I'm content with the progress I made, and I may reevaluate in another few months, like maybe around Tour de Fleece, but I still have a lot of fleece that I don't really care to spin. but I'm going to work through it. Anyway, I'm going to talk about my plans for spinning. I forgot to finish telling you everything I knit. I knit 10 sweaters for me, 2 child sweaters for my granddaughter, 10 pairs of socks. I knit socks for other people primarily. I don't know if I made any socks for me this year. I knit 1 shawl. I knit a small cat blanket. I knit finished 1 pair of mitts, and I crocheted 1 sweater. So those are all my 27 projects, which was low. So in past years, I'd knit in near 40 projects, many more sweaters and other things, toys. Yeah, I'm just looking back at my journal to see what I did in past years. But yeah, it is remarkable. I do have a bullet journal that I use to track, that I've been using since 2018, and I didn't keep up with it this year. I started it in January and then I stopped. So we'll see how I do for 2025. I'll get it going later today. I haven't filled it all out. I just did my summary things, but I will get that going, and we'll see what happens. Wow, okay, 30 minutes in, and I haven't talked about my knitting project. So let me get you caught up on where I'm at and what I've done since my last episode in 2024. I just dropped some yarn. I finished 2 pairs of mitts since I last talked to you. These were my Advent knitting. I decided to do the what's it called? Fair Isle Knit Fair Isle MKALendar, yeah. So I did the Fair Isle MKALendar by Talvi Knits. It was so fun. You knit 1 mitt in, not completely because you don't do the thumbs till Christmas Day. We didn't do the thumbs till Christmas Day, but you knit 1 mitt for the first 12 days, and the second one for the second 12 days of the calendar. And what you do is each day she would give you a clue. See, we made the cuffs before. I actually made them December 1st, and then we got the first clue for this one color band. So I had no idea. I didn't really think through the colors. You can see my thoughts and process in my Vlogmases, but basically I like in more detail than I'm probably saying now. But I put together a batch of colors. They were actually brights, very bright colors. I realized that this is actually this mitt. This is actually this hand, the left hand. I just had it folded differently from blocking it. I had a collection of very bright colors, kind of similar to the shawl that I made. I did a shawl that was mostly black with bright colors. I knew I wanted to do superwash or non-superwash yarn, and so I went through. I have candy jars full of mini skeins. Like I have one that's full of superwash mini skeins, and then I have one that's full of non-superwash mini skeins. Another one that's full of scrappies, bits and bobs of handspun, and one that is all my texture mohair, partial skeins of mohair and suri alpaca, those type hairy, furry yarns. So anyway, I went through my candy jar of non-superwash to find what I had, and I ended up using as my main color. I still have some left. This 100% Shetland wool from a yarn company that's out of business. But I had purchased like this dark gray, this mid-tone gray that you're seeing in the background here, and the white. So those are all this Shetland. And then the other mini skeins are a combination of wool from Little Grey Sheep Company or Grey Sheep Company over in UK. Some mini skeins that I had bought, different mini skein sets that I bought from them in a yarn festival and online. And 2 are from the Woolly Mammoth, part of my countdown calendar that I got from Woolly Mammoth, which I'll talk about in acquisition, so you'll see more of that. So 2 of the colors, the orange, like this brick red, and the green, were both from the first 2 days of that Woolly Mammoth calendar. Okay, now it's really bugging me that the crease is in the wrong spot for this. The interesting thing about these were that the second mitt had slightly different motifs, so you can see that, especially like maybe you notice it there and there and there. But I continued to use the same colors for continuity's sake. So yeah, it was real fun. And you could choose to do a whole mitt, or you could choose to do fingerless like I did. And you could also do a flip down version where you would attach something that would come over your fingers. I find that this is the type of mitt that I wear the most. I like to use them while I'm driving. I drive to my office in the mornings, and they keep my hands warm on the steering wheel, but I can still use my fingers to do the radio or the GPS or whatever, my phone, if I need to. And knit. I also knit in the car when I'm sitting in traffic, because I live by New York City, so there's always traffic where I'm sitting waiting for the light to change, or waiting for the traffic cops to let us go. So yeah, I love these. These are my thing. What else can I tell you about these? Really glad to have them. Can't wait to wear them, to use them. I have not, this is the first time I've actually put both of them on. There's one thing I don't like about doing colorwork mitts like this, and that's this little bit of a flare that happens. I tried to make a longer rib so that it wouldn't happen, but you can see that it's kind of like, so what happened, I made a pair last year and I promptly lost them. I wore them for like a month, and then I left them on top of my car and drove off, and I could not find them. So I really had it on my mind to make a pair before the new year. So I was really happy to hear about this MKAL that was going on. And I would definitely do this again. I don't know, next year. I don't know if I'll do mitts. She does do mitts, socks, and something else. There was another option. Maybe it's a hat. So I think she runs 3 at the same time. And it was sort of the same premise where you get one section of colorwork. It's very easy to keep up with it. Although I reached a point where I fell behind. Oh, I should also say my friend Lorian from Knitting Monologues here on YouTube, and she's Yarn Love Turtle on Instagram. She put together a little knitting group of those of us who were doing the mitts, and it was really fun. Tammy from Wool and Wine was in it, and a couple other women that Lorian knows. It was really nice to have company and to share our progress just in our own little group. So it was real fun. But yeah, if you have an idea, I did Lorraine's stretchy bind off, very stretchy bind off, and I did a better job on this side than I did this side, and I actually ripped it back out and tried again, and I still didn't manage to tighten it. But anyway, my other mitts, I found that this ended up rolling down quite a lot just from me bending my hands. I hope that doesn't happen with these. I guess I'll reblock them if that happens. But anyway, so good, so good. I think the pattern was free too, and joining was free. It was really a lovely gift for the holiday season from that designer. And I was gonna say, I think you can probably find the pattern if you are interested. I'll have the designer down in the description box. Then another pair of mitts, hot off the needles, not blocked, more fingerless mitts. These are Base Camp by, oh my goodness, I don't remember. She just commented too on my project page after I posted this morning. But fingerless mitts, I knit from a Countdown Stripe by Woolens and Nosh. I absolutely love this year's colors. I'm a brights girl. I love brights, generally speaking. I mean, these are a little muted for me, but I like them and I'll wear them They're my colors, but generally you're going to see that I really like brights. I do occasionally make neutral sweaters, but I almost always make bright sweaters. So this made me very happy. I chose DK. These, I mean, again, this is super expensive yarn. I think the yarn, I don't remember the cost, but I want to say it was around $75 for the prep, and you get a cute little tote bag, and she snaps it in the center, and then you're pulling it out, and so every day's a mystery. You don't really know what colors you're gonna get. And these, she called them complimentary cocktails, and I think it was like a section here that was these purpley pinks and the complimentary green, and then a section of orange where it was complimentary turquoise, and then a section of green with complimentary red, and then a section of turquoise with complimentary orange. So yeah, so fun. And I will probably wear these way more than I will the other ones, only because they're a nice fit. They're nice and snug. They have long arms. I really love them. I did end up not using the 24th color. And the reason that I just finished these now is because the pattern that originally came out, the base Camp Mitts, did not have a gauge in the pattern, and she did update it, so I assume there's a gauge in there. I haven't looked at the update. She did update the pattern about midway through the month when I was knitting these, and I ended up knitting a pair that were way too big. I'm a loose knitter, generally speaking, so I almost always need to go down a needle size, with very few exceptions. Like, I can usually match Steve and West's gauge, and pretty much that's it. Once in a while I'll hit a designer whose gauge is close to mine. Also my mitts are slightly different because of the way the stripes laid. Of course, it's hand dyed yarn, so the stripes aren't perfect, but they're pretty close. And I did do a goof. I made an extra row of rib on this thumb, but yeah, it's fine. No one will know, except another knitter, and it's totally fine. So, love these. Highly recommend the pattern. I recommend the yarn as well. It's High Twist DK from Woolens and Nosh, self-striping. So good. So good. Okay, those are my finished objects. Let me talk about my works in progress. Sorry, I have a little bit of a nose drip happening, which is winter. Here, let me show you what's on my mannequin. So this is Martha. She is my mannequin. She is my size, pretty much. And I am working on the Mabel sweater by Joji Locatelli. I am knitting it from self-striping yarn, so that's why you're seeing this. The self-striping yarn colors, it's also hand spun. So the self-striping yarn colors, the way they laid out, were based on the way the fiber was laid out in what is called a Bullseye bump by Loop Fiber Studio. So if you're a spinner, maybe you're familiar with her fiber Bullseye bumps, but it comes in a, she puts it in a format where it's in a cylinder, and then it's got a center pole. It's fine, very fine merino, very easy to spin, very thin. In this particular case, I ended up spinning, I was going to show you the yarn, but up close, I don't know if, this is the second skein, so you can see, like, I'm almost done with this first skein. There's a little bit of this green, and then it goes into a blue, like that color blue. And then this is the second half of it, this second skein. Each skein ended up being about 600 yards, so I have a total of 1,200 yards, which should be plenty for this. It just means that my sleeves are going to be different, because there's no green in this second skein. The sleeves are going to be different from the body. There won't be any green in it. Yeah, I'm super curious to see. It's funny, when I was knitting this on the couch, I probably have knit about 4 inches from the last time that I made an episode about this project in early December or late November. I was thinking I was pretty close to the bottom, but now that I have it on Martha, I'm like, oh, because Martha's waist is right here. So I have quite a ways to go. Probably about, I'd probably go down to about the length of the t-shirt. So I have another 6 inches or so. So I'm probably going to get well into this skein. Maybe to that band of black or dark navy that's there. And then the sleeves will end up being those lavender blue and red, which that'll go well. I may knit from the center. I usually pull from the outside. And if you were here for my last Knitter's Life episode in 2024, I have recaked this. So this was caked in the opposite direction. I recaked it because this blue is the finishing part. Let me go ahead and take this down so you can see what's left. There's a little bit of, so there's green and then a little bit of blue. Hold on. Let me get some slack here so I can get it close to the camera. So you can see there's green and then blue. Thought it would focus. This blue here on the outside is the rest of this blue. Because when I was spinning this, I put the yarn on my bobbin, and when my bobbin was full, I stopped and moved to another bobbin. So that's how I ended up with 2 skeins. But anyway, this is following the layout, the color layout of the Bullseye bump that I got from Loop Fiber Studios. I did marl that particular bump with another Bullseye bump that was primarily white. It was white, but it had a little bit of rainbow order and very, very pale tints. So it looks white. There are moments where there was a bright, like I think in here, there was a bright yellowy green that you're just picking up a bit in the ply, in the 2-ply. So yeah, it was super interesting. And I think actually I have a little bit of the white, the first color that's way at the top, the white with gold. I have a dab of that. I've been holding to go back and do the collar. But this is probably a good example of like the tint. So the tint was like that very, very pale yellow mixed with white, so you can really see it. But yeah, that is the Mabel sweater. It's really a fun knit. It's easy. It's a 4-row repeat. Yeah, it's a 4-row repeat stitch pattern. It's waffle stitch. Oh my goodness. Trying not to break my yarn. It's a waffle stitch pattern, which is a 4-row repeat. Pretty easy to memorize, and I have stitch markers to let me know. I mark the first row of the 4-row repeat, so that I know I can easily count if I put the work down, pick it up, and I just move the markers. I've just been moving the markers as needed. What was I going to say? It's slow because I'm knitting on really tiny needles. Like I want to say they're size, I'm going to just move the camera back down. I want to say they're 3mm, or maybe they're US size 3. I can't remember which. 3mm is US size 2.5. I think it's US size 3, which would be 325, correct? If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's a little bit of a slow knit. That's the thing about fingering weight, is that they do take time. They take longer to knit than the heavier weight yarns, but understandable. Completely understandable. All right, I have a new cast on. Where am I at time-wise? I usually only make about a 45-minute to an hour long. Hour is pretty average length. This one's going to be a little longer because I do have a lot of stuff. I had a lot to talk about, and I have a lot of stuff to show. But did you know you can put YouTube videos on 1.5 speed or double speed or even faster if you want? It's a good way to get through monotonous parts that you're not interested in. Anyway, I have a new cast on. I just cast this on New Year's Day. So just a few days ago, I was powering through those mitts, so I didn't get a lot done. But where's the front? The front is here. I cast on the Inge sweater solo by a designer whose name I don't remember, and I can't find it right now quickly, so I'm just gonna not talk about it. But anyway, it's a top-down raglan colorwork sweater out of, oh my gosh, this yarn is so soft. I highly recommend it. I'll show you here's the colorwork. That's the pattern. You might have seen it on other knitting channels, or I think the pattern's been out for almost a year. I think it came out last spring. So the yarn is by Renninger Wool Co. And it is her Better Together DK, starring Holly and Sweet Pea. So it is 100% natural colored merino wool, 3-ply DK weight. Yeah, it's really spectacular. I'm so happy I got this. I bought this because my friend Lorian told me about them. She had found them, I think if I recall right the story, she found them. She'd read about them. Lorian's really good at like finding these small producers, and she told me about them. She talked about them, and then I saw this company being talked about on Grocery Girls, and I was like, oh my God, I need to go buy yarn right now because it's all going to be gone with Grocery Girls, whatever, 50,000 viewers. But really, really awesome, wonderful yarn. I think this is going to be one of those sweaters that I wear a lot. Little concerned about the raglan increases because it's every other row. I've done raglan increases like that. They tend to be real kind of like saggy in the armhole area for me because I have a generous size bust, and to get to the size that I need for my bust line, I end up having too much everywhere else. So I mean, that every other row raglan increase style works really well if you're average size, I guess, or maybe on the smaller size in terms of the difference between your shoulders and your bust and your waist and your hips is smaller. It's not a huge difference. I have a pretty vast difference. So if it's going to fit my shoulders, it's probably going to be tight in the bust. I always make modifications for that. So I may do some mods on this. I just got into the body of the sweater, and I may end up just doing a different series of raglan increases to get to the size I need without having a 12-inch armhole drop, because somewhere around 9.5 is perfect for me. For the armhole drop, from the difference from your shoulder to where your armhole ends. 9.5 is perfect. 10 is a little oversized. Beyond 10 is too much. So I'll know in pretty quickly, like in another few rounds, I'll know whether or not it's time to ramp up the increases to get to the distance more quickly. I did go down a needle size. I am knitting with a size 6 needle, US size 6 instead of a 7 as per the pattern, but I did the collar used 3 different needle sizes on the collar for this little rolled hem, and then 2 different needle sizes throughout the rib to give you like a nice fitted collar, I suppose. I haven't been able to try it on yet, but soon enough. And what else? I wrote this in my modifications. I found the row where you're going from the rib to the stockinette really confusing, because you do a series of increases. Like you do some rapid increasing all the way around, but you're also placing the stitch markers for the raglan. And where our beginning of row wasn't on a seam, it wasn't on a line, it was a little before it. I had a hard time visualizing, like in the pattern, she didn't say sleeve this, back this. And so there are also short rows that are done in the ribbing, and it was looking to me like things, I have marked where the short rows began and ended. It it was looking to me like it wasn't going to work. Like my short rows were going to be skewed and that my neck was going to be higher on one side and lower on the other. I was just like, I can't. So I ended up just doing a round where I only increased, and then I did an extra round where I went back in and placed where the raglans were so that I could know what I was, like it just helped me visualize where everything was going to go. I was having a really hard time visualizing it, just reading through the pattern. I'm a visual learner, so I prefer charts over written instructions always. I get kind of annoyed when things are not charted, actually. That's me. That's a me problem, though. My 2 contrast colors I didn't talk about. These are by Jill Draper. I don't remember which yarn line. Kingston, maybe? I'll put the colors too. I want to say this one's Carnelian, and I think this is like an echinacea color. But when I realized that this was the sweater I wanted to make with this yarn, I had this vision of like a turquoise and orange mix of colors. I would have been really happy if these were much brighter, like the brightness of the colors that you saw in the mitts that I made, but this is totally fine. I really love the way it's swatched up. And it's hard buying online. Sometimes you're just not sure how clear you're seeing the colors, but I love the way it's swatched up. I think it's going to be such a gorgeous sweater, and oh, so soft. I'm so excited. I really hope I have this done for Vogue Knitting Live, which is at the end of the month. Is it Martin Luther King weekend? I think it's Martin Luther King weekend. So I hope I have it done by now. By then, I doubt it. That's only like 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now. I don't think I'll be successful, but okay. A little bit of spinning. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My nose is so itchy, so I don't mean to. I hope it's not grossing you out, but I just can't seem to stop itching it. I did finish one of those combo spins that I was talking about. I might have a little footage of the fiber to show you what I'm talking about, but I have completely finished spinning. I just only completely finished one skein. So this is one skein that's about, this ended up being about a worsted weight. DK or worsted, like heavy DK or worsted. And I think actually, so one of my boys needs a new hat. And he loves blues. So maybe I'll end up making a hat from him. I was just thinking this morning, like, what do I have on hand that I could use to make a hat for him? But this might be the way to go. I do have, like when I say I finished spinning, but I haven't finished the skein. I have a bobbin full, which is probably a pretty equal amount. This is about 230 yards. This is probably about 200 yards. So all in, I have about 430 yards. And then I had extra fiber. So I've spun what I thought was going to be a mini skein, but this is looking pretty hefty. But it's definitely thinner. This is without the blue. I had some blue from Wing and the Prayer fiber. It was unknown. It was marked Cormo, but I don't think it was Cormo. It was coarser than most Cormo feels. So these are the same colors that are here minus the blue, which the blue is super dominant, as you can see. But I really like the way, I love the soft, pretty colors that are here. And I have no idea how much yardage I have. I want to guess it's around 200, but it's definitely thinner. It's probably more like a true DK. So yeah, that was my last combo spin. I am spinning my Fiber Advent, which I got from Kingdom Fleece and Fiber. I brought a few over to show you. I can put a picture here of all of them. And I do have a little footage of the fiber, the one that I'm spinning. I'm spinning one of them. But she prepared for us pin drafted BFL Cormo Cross with Baby Doll South Down blended in. And every Sunday and Wednesday through December, we opened a 2-ounce bump of fiber in different colors. I didn't save the color names, but I know she still has the, I looked this morning because there's still some of this fiber left. What I have here in this bag are all some of the red tones because I had just separated them out. This is another red one, red toned one. I know this one's called Gumdrop. Also, these balls, these are hand wound. So there's work in this. There's labor here. This one is very interesting. It's all the primaries. It's yellow, blue, and red. So I'd be very curious to see what it works out to, what it ends up being. This type of prep reminds me of John Arbon's fiber prep. Like often I didn't buy any from him last year because I was trying real hard to spend what I had. I still am trying really hard to spend what I had. This was a splurge. But John Arbon's fibers often have multicolor, like these. I have some primary colors from him. That's mostly, it's got a white ground though. So it's got red, yellow, blue, and white, mostly white. But I think these end up being a real nice heather. And I would guess this is going to land somewhere in the pink zone. So super curious to see how that ends up. So yeah, so I'm currently spinning these. I just needed a small spinning project because these combo spins take me about a month to do one combo spin. And I have another, I think it's 4 packages put together where I've pulled in different mixtures of yarn, and 2 of them are very dark, like deep dark blue purple. 2 of them are in that vein, and one is kind of a green blue sea color, and then one is a pinky purple, pinky pink, and there might be some purple in there, maybe sort of like this one. But there's a spat of or a fiber bump of mohair, which I've never spun, so I think I'm going to save that for Tour de Fleece, because then I'll feel like I have some support from a community of spinners as I fumble my way through that. It might be a good challenge because it's good to do. I find it's really helpful to do something challenging for Tour de Fleece. And Tour de Fleece, I think I said before, is at the end of June around. So yeah, I'm going to spin a few of these. I'm going to be doing each 2 ounces as one straight spin, and then I'm going to be chain plying, which will make them 3 ply. I'm going to try that with the first one that I have on the spinning wheel right now, and then we'll see how I like it and take it from there. I really love 3 ply. I love knitting with 3 ply. It makes a nice plump round fiber. So this is a true 3 ply where I'm spinning, 3 different bobbins of 3 different fleeces and then putting them together, and it ends up being, because I'm doing combo spins, it ends up being a marl. But 3 ply is kind of pretty much my default. Yes, it takes longer to spin a 3 ply than a 2 ply, or to do a chain ply even, but I just really like working with that yarn. So again, like sacrificing some time and energy to get materials I love to work with. I splurged on other fleece at the end of the year. This is from Yarn Jam, and it's this gorgeous turquoise, which is probably going to throw off my camera. Colorway is called Glacier Lake, and it is a Shiniko fiber, which is a Merino Rambouillet cross. I bought 3 packages. I can't reach the 3rd, so 3 packages to make a sweater's quantity, because I think it would be really cool to have like a solid, spinning solid fiber is really boring, but on the trajectory I'm on, spinning every day, I'll get through it. It might take me a little more than a month, but I'll get through it. But I thought it'd be really cool to have a solid blue sweater, and I would even make this sweater with it. I don't know what I'll end up making, but I mean, thinking that it could be something like this, so I need about 1,000 to 1,200 yards fingering weight, but it should be no problem, even 3 ply with that fiber, because that fiber is very fine. I've spun some of it. Actually, one of the bats that I used, or roving mix braids that I used, was Shiniko here from Yarn Jam. It was very easy to spin. Then last, I wanted to show you some of the yarn. I didn't finish showing you the mini skeins that I ended up getting from Woolly Mammoth Fiber. She's a Northern Irish yarn dyer. The last two colors that you may not have seen if you've been here for my Vlogmas were these two shades of blue. They're so pretty. If you follow Emma from Woolly Mammoth, you'll know that she's been experimenting with indigo dye. She's a natural dyer, and she does local, like very local fiber from around her. Some of them are like sheep that are right up the street from where she lives or in her neighborhood, and others are a little bit, you know, from different areas in Ireland. But she's all about that local, all about that natural dye. And she gets a really great range of colors with her natural dye. So there's the green brick. And there's a couple of these that I just really, really love. This one has speckles of like a brassy color, so it's kind of like a patina color. But yeah, that's, you know, pretty cool. The range. There is, of course, couple cream color ones, the burnt orange, a caramel colored one. Yeah, so it was 12 mini skeins. You could open them however you wanted. I ended up doing one every other day through December. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this, but this is all her natural sock base. And she's not doing an advent next year because I think it's because she's pregnant. She didn't say, but she is pregnant. You can noticeably pregnant in her videos. I love her Vlogmases. I love her channel. She's one of my all the time watches. Someone that I need to watch all the time. Anytime she puts something out, I want to watch. I also purchased in December, so this went in with my yarn, all of that, the mini skeins, and this Clinton Hill cashmere bespoke worsted weight cashmere went into my count for yarn count for 2024 because I purchased them in 2024. But I bought 4 skeins of this Clinton Hill cashmere. It was on sale. Again, thank you, Lauren, for letting me know that some cashmere was marked down. It was on sale with a yarn shop. I don't even remember which yarn shop, but I was happy to. I've knit with Clinton Hill before. It's amazing. I love Becky's personality and her, woman-owned business. It's really great to support her. Trying to decide what to do. My first thought when I purchased it was that I would make a cowl, but I may make a shawl. I'm gonna check out Becky's booth in January at Vogue Knitting Live because Becky always shows, and I may buy some other colors to make a shawl instead, like all cashmere, Clinton Hill cashmere shawl. Actually, I'm not particularly like it must be from Clinton Hill. I just figured it would be convenient in terms of yarn quantities. So if there's other cashmere makers, I may check them out too. It's funny though, like this is kind of a brassy red or like a orangey red, and in my head when I bought it, I thought it was like a cherry red, like a bright cherry red, and I didn't open it until today. Like this came, the package came, it was in a mesh bag that I have inside a plastic bag for safety's sake against critters. And I took the mesh bag out of the package and shoved it under my tree. So it sat under my tree all December. And I didn't open it and look at it until today when I was getting ready to podcast or to record. And I was like, oh, it's kind of a orangey red, which is great for me. It's a good color for me. It's better than cherry red. But in my head, I was thinking the shawl I was going to make was going to be red and pink, like bright red, bright pink. This isn't as bright as I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to think about it. It's actually real close to the carnelian color. It's a little bit brighter than the one from Jill Draper. So maybe I should do a turquoise instead. I don't know. Again, I'm going to look at the colors Becky has. I know she has a teal that's probably close to this color. It's a little bit darker. I don't know if I want to shawl that color though. I was really excited about red and pink. Yeah, I'm gonna think on it. I have 2 more weeks or so before I have to figure out, or I may just impulse buy some cashmere at Vogue and just say that's my Vogue purchase for this year. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But I don't know why I thought it was brighter red. Maybe she had a brighter red and she discontinued it, and now it's this more like autumnal red instead. I don't know. Oh, I have one other thing I just want to share with you. I got this from a viewer. It was so sweet. It arrived and I saw it was from New Zealand. And I was like, what did I order from New Zealand? But it's this really cute cat calendar for 2025. The viewer did not share any information about who she is. She just said, she sent me a little note to me and my cats, Aegon and Rue. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you for your Knitter's Life videos. They are wonderful, inspiring, interesting, and so well made. They are a joy to watch throughout the year. Oh my God. It's very touching. Thank you, whoever you are. I respect your desire to be anonymous, but so sweet of you to ship me something all the way from New Zealand. It couldn't have been cheap, and it's deeply appreciated. I really appreciate it. Oh my God, look. For next Christmas. Oh, so cute. So yes, this will be hung up in the house because, cats from my life. Anyway, couple little things just to look forward to. Plans for my new year. I'm not a good knitting planner. I am very mercurial in my knitting. I buy the yarn and commit to the yarn way before I commit to the projects, and I change my mind 5 million times over what I'm going to do. It feels like that anyway. It's probably just a few times. But I am often inspired by, new designs that come out. And, I'm a former designer myself. I also have my own hand knit patterns that I have published. But I'm super happy to just knit other people's patterns. If they're scratching the itch that I have, I will knit other people's patterns. I do want to I have an old pattern. I haven't published a pattern in a few years. And my most made patterns or most bought purchase patterns are Christmas stocking patterns. I have 3 of them. I've sold so many. People don't make project pages though, so there's not a lot to look at in terms of people's projects. My projects are posted, but you wouldn't know that I've sold probably about over almost 1,000, maybe right around 1,000 copies of those patterns. But are there project pages? No. So yeah, anyway. I have an old pattern called Rye Layering Tea. I haven't made any in a while, and I think I'm going to make a couple of those. Maybe that can be what this is. It is a fingering weight, or a sport weight pattern. Maybe that will be that. I don't know. We'll see. But I had knit a few of them, and one of them was completely destroyed by the moth. It was like the main, I guess I wore it a lot because moths the clothes-eating moths like dirty fiber. So like fiber that's fresh off the sheep or fresh off your body. That's what they like. So anyway, I could use a couple just simple, solid, colored sweaters. And I really like that pattern, so I may make that this year. I do have in mind to make a blanket just to use up some of my handspun and my single skeins of thicker yarn that I have. I also have a plan to destash some minis and handspun, so I'm gonna probably do that more in the late spring, early summer months, around the time that I did it last year. When I destash, I usually post on Ravelry, and I'll let you know if you're interested in buying some. It's always a fire sale when I destash because I just want the stuff to go. So I'm not trying to make back my money or anything. I'm just trying to get the stuff out of my stash. So often they're like half what it would be, half price, and the handspun will be really affordable, even though it shouldn't be because a 4-ounce braid is like the same cost as a skein of yarn. So this braid was like $28, and I now have to do the labor of spinning it, which is a joy. So I love it, but I'm not complaining. I'm just like pointing out that like if I spin a skein and sell it for the same $28 you'd pay for, or $30 for the a yarn, a commercially made skein of yarn, or even indie dyed skein of yarn, that's $30. I'm barely making my money back on the fiber, let alone the labor of hand spinning. So like that really, to me this should be $60, but I won't sell them that much. It'll be in an affordable range. I will post on Ravelry, but I have to say, like, the Ravelry sales are really slow. So when I want to move stuff, I post over on Threads, on Reddit mostly, and on sometimes I do Instagram, but mostly it's Reddit. Reddit moves. Like, you post, it sells within an hour, or it's not going to sell. Because there's a couple yarn subs over there that people stalk those subs, and they grab, and money's king, so you pay, you got it, and then I ship it out, and I almost always do free shipping. So that's coming. And what else? I will continue the Cast On With Me series, which I started last year, to just do a deeper dive into the cast-ons that I am planning, or that I'm starting. So I talk about my process, my thought process, how I made the choices in terms of the yarn and things that I decide in my swatching, how that went. I show you that. And then right on camera, I cast on and do a little knitting with some quiet music, and you can, hang out with me while I, do a few, 5 minutes or less of casting on, and then talk about the, how it's going and my thoughts and stuff. So it's not for everyone, I know. Like, I've had some viewers tell me that they find them boring. That's fine. Some people really like the detail though, and I like making those. So my channel is also not monetized, and I do them because I like to, and because I'm interested in meeting people, and I've met a lot of people through my channel. I just really enjoy it, and that's why I'm making them. It's not because I'm trying to make money. I make a really good living. I don't need the, to monetize. So if you see commercials on my channel, it's because YouTube is making money, not me. I do think from time to time about monetizing. I just because there's some passive ways that you can make money without going all out with sponsorships and stuff like that. So I am interested in that perhaps down the road. Takes a lot of brain space to do these videos, and I really like being the master of my own free time. And I feel like monetizing might take that away from me in a way. And last, I am having a kitchen renovation done this year. I hope it's gotta happen. Actually, my dishwasher broke while I was away. It was probably on the verge of breaking, and I went away for Christmas. You're gonna see some footage at the end of a little bit of what would have been my final Vlogmas. I just didn't have the bandwidth to put together a final Vlogmas. I really just needed to decompress that last week of the year. So I'll have some footage at the end of the village that we stayed in. It was Hudson in upstate New York. Gorgeous. It was delightful. We had such a wonderful time. I went with my 2 boys that live across the river and their partners, and it was just so fun. But I got home and my dishwasher had busted and had flooded my kitchen, and it has now moved up my timetable of getting my kitchen renovation because it needs to be replaced, and I don't want to spend, even for the cheapest dishwasher, it's still going to be like $600 or $700 to get a new one, and I don't want to spend that and then have a reno happen like June. So I'm gonna be starting that process soon, I hope. have to go through a couple approvals before I can get there. So I can share that with you if you're interested. And yeah, otherwise it'll just be everything knitting and spinning and maybe other things that I feel like talking about, I guess, thrown in at the end for those of you who stick around and are interested. So anyway, wrapping this up, it's going to end up being probably an hour and a half by the time I get all the extra footage in there. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you, and I hope you are having a happy intro to the new year, and you're entering it full of hope and in a good place, or that you're at least heading into a good space. I love the new year because it's always so full of hope and dreams and possibilities, and that's why I love yarn, because it's also full of possibilities. Anyway, take care. Have a great rest of day, rest of week, and I will see you again soon.